welcome back to my channel. We are 1 week away from the Lunar New Year, and this year is the year of the dragon. And I'm going to show you how I created my Watery Jade Dragon Nails. In case you guys didn't know, the dragon is the only animal on the Chinese zodiac that is a mythical creature, and it symbolizes good luck, strength, and power. And then the auspicious stone jade is said to bring you prosperity, good health, longevity, and harmony. While these nails are not real jade, I wish for all those good things to come to you guys. So I'm starting off today with 5 nails that are already prepped. I have buffed the top so that there's no more shine, and then I used an alcohol wipe to wipe off any dust. And now I'm just going to apply base coat over all of the nails. So today's design might look really complicated and difficult from the appearance, but it's actually a pretty simple design, and I'm going to show you all the steps, and trust me, it'll be easier than you think. So once you've finished applying your base coat, make sure to cure it under your lamp. And while that's curing, I'm going to show you the polishes I'll use today to create the jade. This one is by Bevla, part of their Rococo Fantasy collection. This is Divock from their Once in a Summer collection, and these are all syrup gels. And this is a more muted green by Dewy in the color Jade. And I'm also going to use the Dewy Nudie White. And all of the products that I use will be linked in the caption below. And let me just show you what they look like on my palette. So the Bevla one is like a softer green, and then we have a brighter green from the Divock shade, and then a more muted and darker one from the Dewy. So when we look at the nail design, the thumb and the ring finger ones have an ombre effect. It goes from green to white, and then the other nails are pure jade marble. So we're gonna start doing the thumb design, which has an ombre, and I'm using the Bevla green, and I'm going to place that on the top half of the nail. This syrup gel levels out so easily with just one layer. I really like the consistency and how easy it is to use. You can tell that there's no streakiness at all. And the milky white color will go on the bottom half. Next, I'm going to use a small liner brush, and I'm just gonna pull the green into the white. So I'm doing very light little taps, pulling the polish downwards. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, but pulling the white polish upwards. Just very light taps. And this will help you blend the two polishes together. If you find that too much polish is getting onto your brush, you can just wipe it off your palette. And keep doing this until you feel like it's pretty consistent, pretty blended out, and that the polish is kind of even. And that's the first layer. I think it looks pretty good, so I'm going to cure that under my lamp, and then I'm going to do the same thing again. If you guys have never used syrup gels before, especially to create ombre effects like this, you have to try it. It makes it so much easier than solid colors. Now that the second layer is blended out, we're not going to put this under the lamp. So leave it on top, do not cure. And then I'm going to use my liner brush again and just pick up some of the other shades of green. And I'm gonna start dabbing it onto the nail. So I'm basically creating a jade-ish design in the top half of the nail. And kind of having it leak down towards the second layer of polish, it lets the syrup gels that I'm adding on top right now kind of disperse and create kind of like a cloudy effect. And with this, I'm kind of just haphazardly putting colors down. You don't need to get too detailed into this because remember, this is the thumbnail. It's where the dragon is going to go on top. And so most of this nail will actually be covered anyways. If you find that some parts look a bit too transparent, you can also add a bit more of the green. So now I've cured the second layer under my lamp, but you can see that it's a little bit bumpy, so I'm going to show you how to smooth it out. I'm using some clear gel. This is kind of like it's not as thick as I'd say a builder gel is, but it's similar. It's thicker than a top coat. And I'm going to apply one layer all over the nail first. So this is a slip layer, don't cure it. And then grab more gel. You can see most of the gel is at the tip of the brush. And then we're going to lay it onto the nail by swiping it left and right. And then we're going to flip the nail upside down. This will help it create some structure. It'll also help smooth everything out. This trick can also be useful with chunkier glitters to help smooth out your nail after. So this is how it looks. It's much smoother. And then we're going to cure this, and then this nail is done for now. So next up, I'm going to show you how to do the full marble nail. And I actually call this my lazy marble technique because if I wanted to create like a really realistic stone, I would probably use a lot more colors, more opaque colors, not just syrup gels, and do way more layers. But for today's design, I wanted it to be a bit softer and I didn't really want cracks in it. And so this is the easy way. So I started off with covering the whole nail with the light green shade, just like before, don't cure it. And then I'm just grabbing some of the other colors and dabbing it onto the nail. It's okay for this first layer to be a bit darker. You can add more color. And once you're happy with it, you can cure the first layer under your lamp. So now this is my cured first layer. I'm going to take my base light green color again, and I'm going to cover it completely for my second layer. And basically what I'm doing is I'm first of all adding more opacity to the nail so that it's not too transparent. And then second, this full covered nail will blur out that first layer, and it blurs out some of the color so that when you start adding color now on the second layer, it gives it the extra depth. And that's typically how you create marble designs. It's all about adding many different layers. But today I'm showing you guys my lazy marble design, so there's only going to be 2 layers. So this layer is the final layer. Make sure you add in all the detail that you want. So once you're happy with your marble nail, cure the second layer and then it's basically done, and you can use the same step as before to smooth it out. So this is how our jade looks. I think it looks so pretty, and it's ready for the 3D. So to refresh our memory, we have dragons and lotus flowers and leaves. And I'm going to create the 3D using molds. The nail art molds these days have gotten so intricate and so beautiful, like there's so much detail in this dragon mold. I got this one off of Aliexpress. Actually, I got all the molds I used today off Aliexpress. This one is like a flower mold. And then this is like the lotus with the leaves, which is so pretty. So to fill these molds, I'm going to take some of that clear gel. You can use builder gel as well. And I'm going to mix some of my greens into the clear. This is to help dilute the color because I don't want it to be too saturated. When you're creating 3D characters or 3D molds, remember that they are thicker, so your color will be a lot stronger and more saturated, especially if you don't dilute it. It might become darker than you think, so it's good to do some tests. I created these ones for fun when I was practicing. They're a lot darker because I also added color on top afterwards just to see how it would look. In the end, I decided I wanted to keep it much lighter and very translucent, so I added lots of the clear gel. So once you have your diluted colors, you can start placing them into the mold. I like to use a thin brush and do small amounts at a time when I'm using such a detailed mold. This is just to help make sure that the gel gets into all the little crevices and that there's less chances for air bubbles. So as I'm filling this mold, I'm actually kind of swapping between the brighter green and the lighter green because this is supposed to be part of the jade, as if it's been carved out of the jade. So you want to make sure it's not all even in one color, so you're like marbling but inside the dragon. And also remember to be gentle with your brush, like take your time with it. Don't poke around too hard or you might damage your brush. And lastly, just make sure that you do fill the rest of the mold with enough polish so that it's not too thin of a layer. So I'm using more of the clear gel and just kind of making sure everything is filled up. And of course, you can also swap into a thinner brush to get the really small details and lines. Okay, and now it is done, and I'm going to cure this under my lamp. And then when I pop this out, I find it easier to use tweezers, and you can kind of stretch open the mold a bit. And we lost a little whisker, but don't worry, we can reattach that later. So this is how it looks. You can see there's a bit of the different shading of colors there. And then some parts that are not clean, I just use tweezers and I pull them off. But be gentle with it, or maybe use like a small cutter if you have to cut them off or clip them off. And then I'm going to set this aside and do the rest of my 3D. The lotus flower design has two colors, so first I'm going to do the same thing and get a diluted pink color for the flowers. And I'm going to color all of the flowers first. So once I'm done adding color to the flowers, I'm going to cure this in the lamp first. And then once it's cured, I'm going to add in the green. This is to kind of help prevent the two colors from mixing. If you're worried about bubbles, you can also flip over the mold and look at it from the other side to kind of check to see if there's little bubbles, and then you can fix them. But if it's good, then just cure it. And again, I'm going to stretch the mold, which kind of helps pop out the design already. And then use my tweezers to pick it up. Ta-da! And you can see that it's very transparent because of using these diluted colors, and it helps make it look like it's part of the marble and part of the jade. For designs where you might want the 3D to be really sharp and really crisp, then you wouldn't really use the clear clear shade. You would use a solid white or another solid color. I'm going to use the top of the lotus mold just to make a small flower for the dragon nail. Now that our 3D charms are done, I'm going to use the Jinbi No Wipe Overlay Crazy Top Thick Gel to attach all of the charms. I really like this gel. I use it for adhering most of my charms, and it's great because it's no wipe and it's really sturdy. So I'm just gonna add some of this gel to the back of the charms and then place them onto the nail. And because these nail molds, you can see that the nail mold has like a nail shape on it. That's to help make the charm curved so that it sits nicely on your nail tips like this. And so I'm gonna set up my Jello torch. This is a really handy torch where it has a touch sensor for turning it on and off, which is very convenient, and it also comes with a stand. So even though the charm is already curved, it isn't always perfectly flat on the nail still, and you can see here there's a bit of a gap underneath. So I'm just gonna press down on it with my tweezers and then put it under the torch. And you can see now that most of the gap is gone. And then there's a little bit of the edges left, which we'll seal with the Crazy Top gel. But first, I'm going to add his little whisker back on. And also the lotus flower. And now I'm just taking a liner brush and then I'm going around the edges to make sure that everything is in place and it will not budge. And now I'm just gonna do the same thing for the rest of the charms. This charm fits so perfectly on this nail length. If you have shorter nails, then you'll probably have to trim it. That's the one caveat or one bad thing about using nail molds, is that you can't flip it symmetrically and it might not always fit on the length that you like. If some spots are sticking out on the side, I just use my tweezers and I'll break it off. Or you can also file it off. So now that all our 3D is attached, I'm going to show you guys how I add a bit more color to this dragon. I'm just taking some of that brighter green shade and I'm using a nail brush to just brush on top of it lightly. So the brighter green will kind of get caught onto different parts of the 3D. It'll kind of sink into some of the crevices and some parts will kind of stay on top, and this helps kind of highlight the 3D details. But you also have to be very careful not to add too much gel, because then you don't want to lose details by just covering everything. Okay, now that's cured, I'm going to show you guys how to top coat our 3D. So I'm taking some top coat gel, putting it on my palette, and then I'm going to use a small brush and basically do the same thing I did coloring the dragon. I'm going to put my top coat in a very thin layer on top. So for very detailed molds like this one that has intricate details and a lot of fine texture, make sure you do it this way using your own brush and not the brush that comes with the top gel, because that one will just add way too much polish and it's gonna smooth out everything. And make sure you cover the rest of the nail as well. And now our dragon nail is complete. And we're going to work on the pinky and the index nail. So for the pinky nail, there's some 3D flowers there. I didn't have a mold for those, so I'm going to use some clear sculpture gel. And because it's clear, I'm going to add some painting gel that's in pink to color it. Just very, very little is enough. And I'm just gonna mix it together. And then before adding it on the nail, I'm actually going to quickly wipe off the tacky layer because it was really slippery. And then I'm going to add my gel on top and use a silicone tool to kind of shape it into petals. And that's basically it for this pinky nail. And just add top coat to finish it off. And now for the index nail, I'm doing a design with a little jade pendant. And so first I'm going to draw a straight line using the brighter syrup shade from Diva. And then I'm going to paint a circle. So once you're happy with the design and the opacity of it, cure it first and then add a layer of top coat and cure this as well. And then we'll do the 3D part after. So at this point, all of the nails will have been top coated, and we're just going to add the bubbles on the middle flower nail and then also the jade pendant. So I'm using my Jimby Crazy top coat again because it's Snow White. And then we're just going to use a small liner brush and drop the little bubbles on top. And to create a more realistic droplet effect, I like to make sure that they're not too round. They're not like perfect circles. And you just need to cure this and it's done. And then for the jade pendant, we're just drawing a circle right where we've already painted underneath. And for this one, I'm actually going to do 2 layers just to make sure that it's 3D enough. You can see that it's popping out a lot more now with the second layer. And once we cure this, our nails are done. And I'm not going to do the other 5 nails of the set because it's basically the same design in the same method. But here are the nails. Close up again. I think they look so pretty. I love how soft they look. I hope that you guys found this tutorial useful and you're able to create this for Lunar New Year next week. If you do, please tag me. I would love to see it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Lunar New Year and spend time with your family and friends and have really good food. See you guys next time.